If the service is good, you're not mindful of time. You understand? You at home with your husband, you're not telling him you got 32 minutes to get this in and I got to go.
Right.
It is only if it's bad that you are mindful. Worship is supposed to be a timeless experience. That's why people in a bad church are always looking at the program to say, what's next? I said, they growing weed at the church? Where do I jump? The Dick Gregory. Rashani grabs me by my collar and throws me up against the wall. And I knew who he was from my parents' records.
Of course.
But I had never met him before. And I'm going in my speech trying to figure out what did I do wrong. And I don't know what kind of family-friendly show this is.
It's very family-friendly.
Okay.
Or not. You be you.
Okay. So he said the N-word and threw me up against the wall and says, you are out of order. So I said, I'm out of order? He said, when I was growing up, black people, when they were in trouble, would call on two names, Jesus and the NAACP. He said, you are a part of a generation that doesn't call on either. He said, you belong in a church. Dick Gregory, who didn't even go to church.
No.
Didn't even believe in church. So I tell people all over the world, it wasn't T.D. Jakes, it wasn't Creflo. Dick Gregory called me in the pastor. So after that started my journey towards being a pastor.
Dang, so this is not something that you were like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. Because even though you grew up in the church and you saw, obviously, your father.
Yeah. Slip is showing. Is that the black church has exposed that they don't know how to support what they don't lead. And so what the church has to do is really repackage itself, is that the black church is almost in Leave It to Beaver. So we see family as a husband and a wife and two kids and marginalized single parents. 98% of black churches have a youth ministry, but have nothing for kids with special needs. The largest demographic in our community for the very first time, they're more seniors than teenagers. So, Rashawn, it's hard to believe there are more nursing homes than there are middle schools. So most black churches have a youth pastor but don't have a seniors pastor. Or let's go to the other side of the spectrum. The black church will ask for your tithe, want your 10%, but never show you how to multiply your 90. So there's nothing about financial literacy. There's nothing about economic development. We just curate welfare worship, that if you shout, you're going to be debt-free. If you yell, then you're going to be a millionaire. But nothing about delayed gratification, nothing about sweat equity. I opened up in our church that 92% of my congregation doesn't have an investment portfolio. So I had to bring in stockbrokers to show them how to do it. The Bible says we die from a lack of knowledge. So the stuff that was applicable for your grandmother means nothing to you. And so I said, I had a Zoom with all of my singles just this week, is that for me to tell 16-year-olds to be celibate is one thing. A 37-year-old who's used to getting some, I need a different kind of gospel.
Yeah.
So the church ain't telling me nothing about sex toys. They ain't saying nothing about the church telling me to be celibate, but my gynecologist is saying something got to happen down there because your stuff's shutting down.
Yeah.
So we got to have real gospel for grown-ups.
I'm about to go to Newburgh. I'm going to Newburgh on Sunday.
No. So the church is not relatable to our generation and down. So imagine when I was growing up, they were telling you, don't have your phone on in church. I'm telling y'all, turn your phone on, take a selfie, use hashtag #NewBirthNow so that we can move forward. Society, Rashawn, changes every 4 years, but church culture changes every 4 years, but church culture changes every 20. Ooh. So the average church is 15 years behind schedule. So those of you who are watching, your church is so proud to be on Facebook, but all the youth are on TikTok.
They are.
They stopped being on Facebook when their mother tried to friend them. So you got to figure out, how am I relevant and how do I repackage? So I understand you are spiritual is what you want to call it, because we don't have a terminology of how do I love God when I hate the church? And can I love him without hating the politics of church. And so churches blew up in the pandemic, and they're not doing their due diligence. Why? They grew up because we went virtual. So now I can go to church and I ain't got to worry about being judged by what I got on.
Right.
Now I can go to church and you ain't going to judge me because of my tattoos, because of my piercings, or because I have a same-sex lover.
Yes.
So you got to ask yourself, why is the church not saying nothing about Brittany Garner?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They stuck in the same place.
Because she's black and she's gay.
Okay. And what I said, I was in South Carolina 2 days ago. I said, I don't want to hear that argument. You can't support Black Lives Matter because they were pushed by the LGBT community. Then why did you support the March on Washington? March on Washington was not Dr. King's march. He was a speaker. The organizer was a black man. And y'all got on all these buses from all these Baptist churches and supported it. Let's do the exact same thing. And so I think that the black church has got to have a real come to Jesus meeting and get into the 21st century. I got up, Rashawn, after the Supreme Court ruling about that new birth and me are pro-choice because Jesus is.
Right.
He said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If you decide to let me in, that's pro-choice. Huh. God in the Garden of Eden said to Adam and Eve, all of these trees are available to you. I want you to pick those. I'm not putting this other tree behind barbed wire and the ADT alarm. Don't eat it, but that's your choice.
Yes.
Christianity in and to itself is pro-choice. But we don't say anything because a lot of black churches are white evangelicals in drag. And they don't know who it is that they are because their politics are thrown off and don't really speak to, you okay?
I'm good, I'm fine.
Don't really speak to what's happening in the culture.
So how are you leading in this effort to try to change the narrative? Or are you just saying, you know what, this is what I'm going to do and help the people that are in my congregation? How are you making sure that more people think like this, or at least have this type of conversation so that they can try to change their thought process?
Yeah, because I'm mindful that I'm not after Christians. I'm after people who don't go to church. And a lot of churches are just recycling people from other churches. That's not who I'm after. I'm looking for people that smell like weed. I'm at a place, Rashawn. Really, New Birth is the largest land-owning black church in America.
Wow.
And so my position to my deacons is, why aren't we not raising cannabis? I'll be able to bring in black males. They're able to do it legally. I'm teaching them farming.
Oh, my God.
I'm helping them to enhance the ecosystem. This is the kind of conversation. So if the guy, black boy in Bankhead said, they growing weed at the church, where do I join?
Yes.
I don't need no pamphlet for him. You know?
Right.
He coming in. And that's the group that I'm going after. Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
You're different. But you've been different from the beginning. I think that's why God.
But Christianity, Rashawn, is supposed to be different.
But it's...
We have made Christianity politically correct. That it is a puritanical gospel that is reminding of us of the 13 original colonies. Everybody got on a robe singing out of a folder. We sitting down at the appropriate time. We got to be out in time for brunch, where everything else has no real boundaries around it. You at FAMU, I'm at Morehouse. If the game goes into overtime, we know it's a good game.
Banging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the servers go overtime, we looking at our watch.
Oh my God, I can't believe they doing this.
Right.
Yeah,
Another song.
Right.
And you're only saying it because the service ain't good.
Ooh.
You know, if the service is good, you're not mindful of time. You understand? You at home with your husband, you're not telling him you got 32 minutes to get this in and I got to go.
Right.
It is only if it's bad that you are mindful. Worship is supposed to be a timeless experience. That's why people in a bad church are always looking at the program to say, what's next? Yeah. It's only in a dead church and a funeral where there's a program. You go to the Beyonce concert, she ain't telling you what songs is next.
Sing.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Keep going.
We getting messed up tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we looking for all the apes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that it has to be repackaged and repurposed, or else I want to announce on Rashawn's podcast for the very first time, you are getting ready to witness the death of mega churches.
Oh.
Our children will not be going to mega churches. They will be watching online. And that which used to be sanctuaries will be studios. So those who are caught in these wooden pews, get ready to sell them on eBay. Because if you don't repackage, then your church is going to be a condo. You heard it here first.
I did. Right here on the show.
Yeah.
I did, with the Pastor Jamal Bryant. As we close out, you mentioned Kappa Alpha Psi earlier.
Yes.
Did Kappa Alpha Psi choose you, or did you choose Kappa Alpha Psi?
When I was born.
Come on now.
Let me tell you.
You are a pretty boy, honey. You are a pretty boy. I'm sorry. Is that bad? I'm saying that to a pastor?
Your neighbor. No, listen. Absolutely.
Okay.
I tell people everywhere that Kappas are the only fraternity in the Bible. That the first.
Wait a minute. Okay.
The very first civil rights leader, the very first civil rights activist. Do you know who it was?
No, don't do that. Don't do that to me.
The very first civil rights leader, very first liberation practitioner was a man by the name of Moses. Right?
Right.
You agree with that?
I do.
What did Moses have?
I don't know, man. Don't be doing the Bible stuff with me now.
Yeah, come on, you gotta get through that Red Sea.
So he parted the Red Sea.
He lifted
and
up
it was
that
red.
cane.
And he had the cane.
He had to raise that cane.
Oh
up.
my God.
I'm telling you,
Nice.
anybody that's free, follow the Kappa.
Oh my God.
It's the only way that it happened. No, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm grateful.
Yes. I love it. I'm grateful for you.
I'm glad to be here.
I am just.
I'm updating my resume.
Yeah, what you gonna put on there? I was on the Cool Sword podcast with Rashawn Ali. You gonna put that on the resume?
I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I need. Pastor Jamal, you're everything I wanted you to be and more.
Thank you.
On my show.
I'm glad to be here.
And I'm grateful that you said yes to the call, not only for this show, but on your life.
I'm grateful.
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
keep doing it differently.
Got to.
Everybody ain't doing it like you, friend. Like they're not.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're doing it unapologetically. You don't, as much as you've been through,
Yes.
you don't care what nobody think.
Listen. Through it all.
Through it all.
Through it all.
Through it all.
Absolutely. Thank
Yes.
you.
I'm grateful.
Me too.
Truly grateful. Pastor Jamal Bryant, everybody.